Well, hey, welcome and good morning to another action-packed, exciting episode of Hidden in the Heartland podcast. And with this action, we're going to have a little somebody different with us today. And we're excited to have David Douglas. And David, thank you so much for coming on today. We're excited to have you visit with us.
Thank you.
So David is a new good friend of ours, and we've met him recently and had really bonded, and we're going to talk about some good stuff. We kind of want to get to know David a little bit today and have some good discussions about the ways of getting the Heartland discussion out to the public. Um, so before we go forward, we just wanted to say thank you for all of your comments on the last podcast we just had with David Lindsley. And see, this is the month of Davids, so we're going to have all Davids here, and which is I have to find another David for the last part of the month. But
Good trio.
anyway, that's right. See who we can find. But I what I wanted to do is I wanted to quickly just kind of give a little shout out to our future episodes that we're going to be going into starting the following week. And so, if you guys have information on any of this content, please be happy to share because the study goes on. It goes on and on. It's never grounded too heavily because it's ongoing. And that's kind of how science works, I guess. But history and archaeology, we're hoping to dig into certain new topics that we haven't really discussed here. One of them is Spruce Hill. So we're going to be going into Spruce Hill. If you remember in one of the episodes of Hidden in the Heartland, my wife and I had the exciting chance to go meet with a guy named William Connor, who wrote a book about Spruce Hill. And a lot of his information on Spruce Hill and it was called, it was about iron. It was about how they found old iron stoves on Spruce Hill, and there's a lot of them. And I found another book. This was recent, and this was actually thanks to David here, who presented the ideas that William Connor was talking about. Was from this guy. His name is Arlington Mallory, and you'll hear William talk about Arlington Mallory, guy from practically the turn of the century. He's long obviously since passed away, but he wrote this book called "The Rediscovery of Lost America." I just got it in the mail, and I've been peeling through it like crazy. And there's some great stuff on Spruce Hill and what is Spruce Hill, and it's in Ohio and where it came from. So it's that hopefully we'll be diving into this in the future. And if you know anything about Spruce Hill, bring it on board when we talk about it. The other topic that we're going to go into, I've been doing some research when watching some of the ancient artifact preservation society DVDs from this year. One woman brought up this cave called the Anubis Cave, and I'm going to spell it. It's spelled Anubis. I think it's in Oklahoma. I think it's in the Panhandle of Oklahoma, and it's a cave that's got some great content. And I found some old video from the '80s of people who went into the cave and did a lot of research, since there's supposedly Egyptian markings in this cave. And so we're going to kind of do a little bit of a dive probably in the following week. And I got some content here. I'm doing research. So hopefully my homework will be worthy. If you know either of these types of topics, we're going to dive into those in the following weeks. So we're excited to have you guys on board because that's our goal, is to find out who was here long before Columbus. So this handsome schmug next to me is David, and I met David. I don't know how did we meet, David? I'm trying to remember. Did you watch my show or?
Well, it was actually because of a mutual friend,
Oh, yes,
Michael Berkland.
yes.
He put us in a group, message or chat, group text together. I was, since I've gotten into this whole Book of Mormon evidence, or at least, ancient American evidence, since J June of this year, actually,
Wow,
or
pretty
last
new.
year. Yeah, I had, well, and I've been exposed to this much longer, but it was it was only real recent that I really started to investigate and to study and research. And Michael and I have known each other for some time, and he had said that he knew you, and I was like, oh, please come, can you introduce me,
So,
please?
so just
So
for the audience, Michael Berkland is a fun guy. You will probably best know him in such movies as The Singles Ward and I think he's in the RM, and his the one where he's in the most is called The Home Teachers. It's all made by the same group back in 20 years ago, and he's one of the home teachers in the film. And Michael is was also appeared on Hidden in the Heartland as and I don't remember the name, but when we did the Kinderhook plates episode, he comes in with the Kinderhook plates and he brings them to Joseph Smith and he tries to kind of get Joseph Smith to look at him. And so that's our good buddy Michael Berkland. So funny guy. And
yeah,
that's
he's
I'm so
hilarious.
glad that he brought us together because that was really good. And I'm glad that Michael kind of stuck to it. Michael's got an amazing testimony. Sometime, if you ever hear his testimony, I know there's a podcast called Latter Day Lives by Sean Rapier, and he interviews
Uh,
Michael about his conversion and leaving and coming back into the church. An amazing story. And so, which is great. But
well, maybe sometime you'll have him on.
yeah, may have to bring him on. So he's a good guy. His ADHD is through the roof, but you know what? That's what makes him good. So that's what I like about it. But
That's brilliant.
well, David, so David has tell us real quick before we go into the Heartland aspect, give us a little bit of the background as to your background, your personal background.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm a convert to the church. I joined when I was 15. I joined in the year 2000, and I was living in Florida and had a friend invite me to a Christian event. It was a youth Christian event called Acquire the Fire. And for Latter-day Saints, it's probably a lot like youth conference or EFY.
Oh yeah.
And so
Okay.
it was a 2-day event, all youth, and they had hotel rooms and breakfast. And honestly, it was the free food that got me to go.
It's
So
always the food.
yeah,
Even in the
it's
church,
always the
it's
food.
always the food.
Yeah, well, so then I had the next morning of that event, there was a kid that was talking about the priesthood. And I was at this point in my life as a 15-year-old was looking and trying to piece things together. I'd had a really impactful spiritual experience younger that really got me inquiring and wanting to learn more. And so by this point I was going to church, but I never heard anybody talk about the priesthood. And when I heard him talk about the priesthood, it was like he was speaking with authority. And there's a lot more spiritual aspects that really got me to follow through. But that was how I got introduced to the church.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, after having the first lessons, I got baptized. And since then, been married 15 years, served a 2-year mission. I actually served in Ohio, where a lot of this, you
Woohoo!
know,
Yes.
Book of Mormon evidence. I didn't know, but
Yeah.
maybe at some point I'll share with you. My family, my grandfather always said, I don't know if I ever told you this, but my grandfather always said that we were Cherokee. And it wasn't until recently like when we did my DNA that I discovered that I have 3% Jewish in me.
Oh my goodness.
And so
Wild. Holy
at some
cow.
yeah, at some point I'd love to talk to that geneticist guy, Donald Yates, and see if maybe he can look at it more closely.
Yeah.
But the Cherokee say that they're the most Jewish of all the natives.
That is
So
amazing. Holy
yeah,
cow.
yeah,
That's yeah, and you're starting to see that more and more. And I think that's it's great for Donald Yates for bringing that to light for us. And I think that's wonderful. That's kind of what got me into it too, was studying the
interesting.
DNA, which is the start of the Heartland research. And then of course now you've been what is your profession? What do you do mostly for a living?
Yeah, so I have it's interesting. When I first was introduced to this, I didn't quite have I was probably salesperson, customer service, but and that's when I met Rod for the very first time. I didn't have really much, but since meeting Rod the very first time, I'd gotten involved in marketing, and I've been able to have a really great marketing career. I ran an agency where I had a team of 5 people, and we used to do actually marketing and advertising for public speakers, along with coaches. Yeah, and so
Well, that's
the
great.
yeah, so I have a background in marketing, content creation, and advertising on social media. And now I've kind of been moving into a space of doing app development or app design. I'm not a developer, I don't code, but I design the applications or the mobile apps that would actually, eventually be functioning products on a device. So that's my background is design and marketing.
That's awesome. That's really good. And that's kind of that's important in today's world, which is kind of a little bit of what we want to go into today. Um, and then, of course, you mentioned you kind of got turned on earlier this year to the Heartland model,
Hmm.
and kind of in a quick nutshell, what kind of sparked you to say, "Oh my goodness, this is fascinating information"? What kind of lured you in a little bit?
Yeah, well, a little bit is a key word there. So when I first was introduced to this, like I mentioned, I met Rod at Costco of all places, and it was funny because I had my father-in-law saw his documentaries, and he showed them to me and got me a copy, and I was just completely floored by the information he was sharing in those documentaries. And then I met Rod at the store, and I just was geeking out a little bit because I'm like, to me he's like a little bit of a famous person. So we exchanged the contact details, and that was just a little bit into it. I just was surprised, and now I knew about it, but I kind of just let life get to me and kind of forgot about it. And I ended up getting this marketing experience and running an agency and doing a lot of really cool stuff with marketing, cutting edge marketing stuff. And then I rediscovered it somehow. I think I was on YouTube, and I think I was just wanting to answer a question, and I wanted to find because his documentary had found its way on, or at least parts of it onto YouTube, and it just dawned on me that wow, I now have the experience to start making videos and content and start sharing this in a unique way. And so that's really what got me drawn into it, and like I'm obsessed about it now.
Well, and there's something about that research. I'm with you, is where once you kind of put two and two together, you're sort of like, oh my gosh, uh, same thing happened to me. It was sort of I was sick one day and I had to sit and I watched that 4 hour
Hmm.
DVD twice, and I went, oh my gosh, I have the skill of making the complex simple, at least making it
Yeah,
understandable. And even the phrase I've used is sing and dance the message sometimes. And I felt like it was important to at least dive into it. And it's evolved over the years because we do get a lot of false information, and it's very difficult to wade through the two, to be able to
yeah,
get the truth and the fault and wade it from the false. And that's where obviously the spirit comes in. And you got to really utilize that spirit to be able to figure it out, and it becomes kind of difficult. But I think what makes what you're doing important is that David
and
Douglas, you're of the younger generation, and I'm going to start sounding like the old guy, even though I don't think I'm that old, but I am probably old enough to almost be your dad, maybe a young uncle or something like that.
more like a
And
young uncle.
yeah, young uncle. We'll stick with that. That's right. So, but we know that you're of a different generation, and as the old guy who used to make film this way, I always tried really hard to be able to make what's complicated simple. When it was one of the things I first noticed when I watched Rod's videos was I thought, this is for the average person, because I remember I was sick in my bed. This is going on 10 years ago. I was sick in my bed and I had to sit and watch. So I thought I'll just throw this in and watch it. And I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is important information. And my kids would walk by my room going, what are you watching? I'm like, you gotta understand this. And it just, just all right through over their heads. And, when you start getting into DNA, or you start getting into, the Hill Cumorah, and you start getting into the mounds, and where it could have happened, and understanding the Book of Mormon. And I'd read the Book of Mormon numerous times, but I hadn't really, it actually made me want to read more, but it also became difficult to share. And I had to figure out, okay, how do I take this new information that's boring the heck out of my kids, and make it understandable for them, so that
Yeah.
another generation can understand, rather than just rattling off. Because I watch so many of these, the Ancient Artifact Preservation Society. I've mentioned them a lot on this program, where I get a lot of my information. I think the average age of the speaker there is 70,
Oh
because
my
they're
God.
older guys who are retired, and this is their
I
enthusiasts.
can't
So
wait to go.
yeah, it's just, yeah, every October is the conference. We're going to go. And but and they're hungry for that young generation to show up. But a lot of it comes down to understanding. And I
Mm.
remember when my my dad, he's since passed away, and I remember when the first X-Men movie came out. Okay. This is 20 some years ago. And I remember watching it with my dad. And my dad sits there and he goes, yeah, well, the movies these days, and he would say it for years after that. He'd say the same line: movies these days, just people flying around and just, doing this. And he sounded so old. Now I'm finding myself almost saying the same thing. I'm just
Mm.
like, another Marvel movie with everybody flying around and hitting each other and banging against the wall and standing up and back to work. It's these kids these days. But I know that there is a certain level of understanding that the young generation has to have. And that's where you kind of come into play, David, is talk about kind of what you're thinking as far as taking this message and going from the old guys understanding it to now this younger generation understanding it.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. So just for the audience, you basically have two video guys here talking about video from different eras or
That's
different
exactly
periods
right.
of time. Yeah, so I mean, because I've really become in my marketing and content creation a video guy. I'm looking at the video editor all the time. Um, so as far as like what I'm thinking, the thing about um it is that, oh, sorry, I've got Siri that's going off on me.
Oh,
Anyway,
that's all right.
so
That darn
I,
Siri.
well,
So,
you really put it a splendid way. So I'm thinking the same thing. When you saw Rod's content or his videos, you were thinking about making the complicated into something simple, easily digestible, something that your kids don't gloss over. And I'm doing the same exact thing. And I'm doing it really for the Gen Z
yeah.
on TikTok. Now I'm doing it for millennials as well as like myself. And I'm taking those complex things and you're exactly right. It's like you have to dissect what's being taught, and most of it's in books. A lot of it's in books. You have these conferences, which I'm super excited to go to in October. Um, but most of them are just in books. I've read a lot about DNA, and one person I hope that you have on in the future, David Reed, who talks a lot about DNA, who wrote Face of a Nephite. That's He goes through a lot of complicated genetics and DNA research and molecular clock and all these terms. If you're not familiar with it, might just go completely over your head. And he
Mhm.
does well, and he does a great job in his book Face of a Nephite to simplify it. So I was able to read it and I dissected it because I wanted to address DNA
Yeah.
and so I've done a lot of research based on his research as well. And I've looked at the sources that he references, and he's really done a great job of taking himself out of it. So basically, that's a great example of how I'm thinking about this. Is DNA is a very complicated subject, and I've made probably 5 or 6 videos all on DNA on my TikTok, and it's so plain and simple. Um, and
Wow.
it's and it's about hitting on the pinpoint that really like makes you say wow, or like whoa, this is actually happening, or something's here. One good example is my first video on DNA. Actually, I think this was my either my first or second video. I found a clip or a segment. It looked like it was maybe done by the National Geographic. Rod knows where this video was because he was in it. But I took a clip from Donald Yates talking about DNA. And I clipped that. I took a little bit of AI art at the beginning, got a little AI voice to introduce the video, kind of like a th title and thumbnail, and then I let Donald Yates talk, and that video blew up. That
Wow.
video right now is at 24,000 views,
That's
and
great.
it's climbing. So that's kind of my thought process, is just let the experts speak directly to the audience. Maybe take out a lot of the extra stuff, and my thought is just let's get to the one point that really gets people's eyes to open. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I've been thinking about this, is just getting it in front of the people.
So now TikTok, and you have this is all on TikTok, correct?
Yeah, the majority of my videos are on TikTok, under Ancient Answers. You can find me on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram. All of it's branded the same, Ancient Answers. And but TikTok has been my main thing. I'm working on creating a little makeshift studio with a green screen, and I'm going to go more into depth into recording some of
So
this
for
stuff.
those who are new to TikTok, because I'm not even on TikTok, and David laughs. You better be on TikTok eventually. I know. I recently just got on Instagram, and it was still a little, for me to figure out because like I like my videos like this. I don't like them like this,
Yeah,
but that's okay. That's what it is. That's a whole nother realm. But TikTok now describe to us how can you be on TikTok? Are they all connected? Like, can you watch the same video on all the platforms? Are they
just about.
connected?
Yeah, so they're not quite connected. I have to, when I post on TikTok, I have to then repost on YouTube and then repost on Instagram. And I
Okay.
haven't been honestly as consistent. So you'll see some videos that are on YouTube and Instagram, or some videos on TikTok that are not on YouTube and Instagram. It's okay. You don't have to have, unlike Instagram. Instagram actually, you kind of have to have Instagram on your phone to view anything on Instagram. But you can still view videos on Instagram on your computer. Same thing with TikTok, is if you don't have TikTok, it's okay. As long as you have the link, you can just go right to the website, and all the videos are there on the website, and you don't have to be signed in or have an account.
Yeah,
So
because
it's
like with
kind of like YouTube.
Facebook, you have to, right? Like Facebook,
Yeah.
in order for you to watch anything on Facebook, you have to
Yep.
have a Facebook account, which most old people have these
Yeah.
days, or some of them do.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and I'm not so much on, like, I do post on when I post on Instagram, it gets forwarded to my Facebook account.
okay.
And it's not attached to any sort of fan page or Facebook fan page. It's just my personal YouTube or Facebook profile. So that's, you might see some of those videos there, but it's a little bit harder to navigate, unlike TikTok and YouTube.
So how does for the old guys, how is a TikTok video when you see a TikTok video versus say, a YouTube video,
Hmm.
how different are they? What goes into a TikTok that makes it more apt for the younger people to watch it?
Yeah. Yeah, so the just talking about YouTube first, which is probably what most of your audience is maybe familiar with, is you've got the 16:9 ratio, where it's like a wide, frame.
Yeah.
And those videos are a little bit longer, about 10 minutes, 20 minutes. If you got a really great, podcast like Hidden in the Heartland, that might be an hour.
Yeah.
But but then on TikTok, those videos are a lot shorter. You might have videos as short as 7 seconds on there. And you might be wondering, okay, how am I ever going to see anything if it's just 7 seconds? But that's kind of the younger generation is they just want the information fast and want people to get to the point quickly. So those are the major differences. TikTok is kind of pushing towards having a longer form content. So you might see some videos that are about, over a minute or 3 minutes. And some of you might still be thinking, okay, that's still not long enough. But that's just kind of the name of the game. So those are the main differences of the videos
So
on
that's mostly because the audience, because it's younger, they obviously have a short attention span
yeah.
and they want to get to the point. And so you have to produce probably something that that would be fine on YouTube, but then you make I've seen that a lot where a lot of people have YouTube videos, but
Hmm.
then they have a TikTok version with much shorter, much to the point. Like people who've got ongoing YouTube channels will also do this thing where it's short and it's obviously narrow for the phone
Yeah.
and on YouTube, and then you see that same video now on TikTok, and
Yeah.
it's
YouTube does
friendly.
have their YouTube shorts section, which is like their TikTok version of
Okay.
YouTube. And so yeah, you'll see a lot of those. I have that's where you'll see my videos too, is I have a YouTube shorts section on my channel. And that's it's a really nice way to still see that same kind of content. At some point, what I'll do is I'll stitch them all together into a longer video. And that will be my long form video along with some of my other ideas that I
Oh,
have
okay.
planned.
Oh, so you sew the three together? Is that what you do? Or you
Well, I
just
won't. Yeah, I'll just
edit them together?
yeah, like I've got actually this is what I'm looking forward to doing soon. I've been posting a lot of Native American stories. So stories from the Seneca tribe, from the
Oh yeah.
Cheyenne, with Sean Little Bear. I've got some other from the Navajo. From there's a lady called Navajo Grandma on YouTube. And so I'm going to take all those videos, those short videos, which are about a minute to 3 minutes long, and I'm going to stitch them all together. So it'll be like a 10-minute video, which will be nice because you just see all my shorts all in one video, not three all at the same time, but they just one video that will show up one after the other. And it's
That's
basically
awesome.
like ten stories I've posted, Native Americans saying Book of Mormon related stuff. It's
That's
phenomenal.
that's wonderful. Hey, let's take a look at it. Let's see what your
Yeah.
we're going to do a little switchy poo here that David's going to do, and we're going to see um, what the page looks like for us old
Okay.
guys. And because I think it's important for us to get to know that so that we know what we're looking at. So explain to us what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so I've got the reason why you see such a big window is because my monitor is actually a widescreen monitor. So that's why it might look kind of weird if you're watching this on YouTube. It's nice for me, maybe not so nice for you, I'm not sure. But here on TikTok, this is a typical profile or account on TikTok is what they refer to them as. And you can see all the videos are right here. And depending on how big your window is, like your browser's window, it'll fill in the screen or it'll just reduce. But these are all of my videos, and you'll see some text on the bottom.
Wow.
These are all the descriptions.
So there's a lot of AI that you use then in this.
Yeah, you'll see. So if you're wondering on where am I getting some of these so many happy people, um, it's because I actually do use AI. So
Okay.
when you watch these videos, you'll see that or you'll hear actually a voice that's actually not a real person. It's actually an AI voice that's generated. So I type a bunch of text, a paragraph or two of text, about 900 characters, and then the AI will read it for me, and it just comes out really nice and clean. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's a
so
nice voice too. I like that voice. I've heard some of them you use the same voice for all of your videos then.
just about, yeah. There's
Yeah.
a few where I'm actually in the video.
Yeah.
I've got also when I first started my first videos. it's funny actually. Um, I'm laughing at this. So, just for your audience to know, you can actually clone your own voice with some of the tools that are out there.
Oh my goodness,
And
really?
so,
Wow, that's
yeah, so
amazing.
some of these first videos, I was just getting started and I had used my own cloned voice for some of these videos. So it might sound a little off. It might pronounce the word ne or name Nephi or Lehi incorrectly. But that's because it's the AI. It's not me actually
Yeah,
saying it. But yeah,
Nephi.
yeah,
That's
Nephi
how
or
many, how
Lehi.
often have you loaded a video? Like, do you have a certain, like, something weekly, or how often do you put
I
something out?
actually post every day. So
Oh
a
my
video,
goodness.
yeah, I'm
Wow.
posting a video a day. If I have a little bit more time, I'll post two in some of the days. But I've been really consistent about doing one a day on TikTok. And then now, I've recently found myself with a little extra time. So probably the next few weeks or month, I'll be posting a little bit more frequently
Yeah.
on these as well.
You'll see a few familiar faces in there from Hidden in the Heartland and others because we've been kind of sharing
Yeah,
footage, which is important to me. I think that's important. There's Wayne, there's his handsome
yeah.
smug.
Yeah, I've
So
got Tucker Carlson on here.
yeah, who
He
loves
re
totally loves the Book of Mormon. I'm just kidding. I don't, but that's fascinating. The one thing you did put on there where they did talk about the Book of Mormon for a moment.
Yeah, they didn't just talk about Book of Mormon. He brought it up. He was talking about the ancient America and the mounds. He was talking about the mounds. And then the podcast he was on, the podcast host actually was the one to say, "Oh, well, the Mormons, have a book that explains all of the mounds."
Yeah, that's
And that's
what's her name?
Roseanne Barr.
Roseanne Barr. Yeah, she
Yeah.
actually has Mormon background.
Oh,
That's how
really?
she knows. Yeah, she has. I
Did
think
not know that.
she's from Salt Lake. I don't know if she was ever active member of the church, but
Really?
or if she was even ever baptized. But I know she. I'll have to do a quick search on that. But I know she has a Utah tie in her past,
Really?
so that's probably why she knew that.
That's
So
so wild. When I was a kid, I used to watch Roseanne, the TV show.
yeah,
There's a couple of those late night like sitcoms, and I found it interesting that as a kid, and probably in elementary school, as a kid, I was watching her show, and and I just think that it kind of goes to tell you that the content that she was giving was not just entertaining, but something that kids could watch, and I kind of appreciate her. I don't remember all the episodes. Maybe
yeah.
there was some bad ones. I'm not sure, but it wasn't
Who
quite like
knows?
Married with Children,
Yeah,
or
that's
Love and
right.
Marriage or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that's that time frame. That's right in the
yeah,
mid 90s.
90s,
So good
mid
times with
90s
that one.
sitcom.
I really
Yeah,
like what you've got here. This is fascinating and it's all very you notice you also have on the front, the thumbnail, I guess, or whatever that is,
yeah.
the
That,
big letters that kind of like jump out at you as to what
mhm.
you're about to see. Which YouTube does the same and Instagram does the same, where you can stick something on there. But in this case, it's like text going constantly as they're
Yeah.
speaking to help, I'm assuming that's to just lay at home the message in big letters for people because
Well, it
sometimes they
keeps
don't hear everything.
Well, yeah, it keeps people's attention. And that's the thing about the younger generation is if it's not entertaining, they'll swipe away. So you have to do a couple different things to keep people's interest. Like, for instance, this last one with Tucker Carlson. So this is kind of nice. When you open up a video, TikTok kind of just takes over the whole screen for you. You have,
Yeah.
comments. You have, creator, other, these are some of my other videos. So, but basically, when you hear or watch the video, you basically all the text is keeping your attention.
Yeah.
And this is just a good sample of what my videos look like. But right here, you're going to see that I edit in some of the stuff he's talking about.
Yeah.
You can see right on the bottom, you can see the pyramids, the mounds, and then if you skip ahead, I have like more of the mounds, more of what he's talking about here. There's the Monk's Mound right there.
Yep, that's
Uh,
right.
yeah, so
Wikipedia and the police control police information police.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
To
So
make it clear as a bell for somebody who just has a little bit of time. And
yeah,
then there
well,
she is talking about the Book of Mormon right there.
yeah, so like part of the trick here with making these videos is it helps to have a lot of things flashing on the screen. So
Mhm.
that way when you hear them talking about it, you also get the visual as well. And it's just not they don't have to imagine it. Like it's great to hear it, but to see it too, along with what they're saying. Like especially as this mound map, this is a phenomenal piece of evidence here with all these
Yeah.
red dots across North America, and they're talking about it. But then this is also a fascinating part is you have them talking about like why can't you find any of this information? And in here in the clip, I stop and I have this other YouTuber, David Alexander. He's a member of the church. He's talking about his experience as a evangelical and how in Christianity it's just hard to find any kind of truth because in some groups there's a accusatory type fog that just kind of blames Latter-day Saints or says that they don't know what they're talking about. But he found the church, and it was after 47 years.
Oh, that's
Um,
right. Yeah, his story is pretty amazing. That's right. I remember now.
and
So,
then was it Tucker? He's like, well, why don't they put a show on TV? And and then I'm like, okay, well, let's show all the different shows that have been on TV. And we've got
and look, we made it in the
yeah,
lineup. That's it. Hidden in the
yeah.
Heartland, in
Well,
America
actually,
Heartland.
in this, if you haven't seen it, in this particular video, I even go on your story
Oh
about,
my goodness, look at that guy.
yeah,
Oh
you're
my God. I'm
who's
up there with
that?
Scott Walter.
Yeah, look at that.
Uh,
So
that's
anyway,
awesome.
yeah, so that's kind of the fun of doing this is putting the visual in there while all this incredible stuff's being talked about. So that's what makes it really captivating is
Yeah.
having the two sides of the story.
So Ancient Answers is the name of it, is the TikTok name. And so bring us, do you have anything else to show us on this screen, or do you want to take us back to the
Well,
normal?
well, I mean, I could talk probably for a few hours on this. I don't have anything that
Yeah.
that I can share that's probably hasn't already been shared on your efforts
Well,
and your videos,
well,
but
go ahead and bring us to normal screen, and we'll. So I wanted to ask you a few other questions. Ancient Answers. I encourage us old guys to go check out TikTok and to see what he's doing and at least see because I mean like my daughter the other night she was sitting there talking about something and we don't have this one daughter we don't have religious discussions but she talked about something ancient and she goes and I learned it on TikTok and I'm just and I kind of
that's
just went
cool.
like this and went oh okay all right so it must be true it's on TikTok it must be true and I'm obviously there's a sensational side to TikTok,
There
but
is.
that's just kind of how it is. So what kind of how is the response been? I'm curious as you've been posting these, I can see there's a lot of comments and you're getting a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of views. What's the response from doing this now on your channel? What have
Well,
you seen?
I'll tell you, it's really fascinating. So I do get a lot of comments. Um, the subject of religion, anything religion related,
Ah,
is yeah. Well, it can be considered as a controversial subject. Who go figure, And so I get a lot of people who comment. I get a great deal of Latter-day Saints that are excited, because they're like, "Hey, see, this is the evidence." And some of them have never been exposed to the Heartland model, and they're seeing it for the first time. And for many of them, it just makes sense. I've gotten a little bit of response from some Meso related folks, which is kind of interesting. But then I've got a Meso friend that I'm trying to at least introduce some ideas and see what he's thinking. I'm not trying to convert him or anything,
sure you're
but
not. So I'm
but
just
he's a
kidding.
great guy.
No, I know
Honestly,
it's good-hearted discussions. That's right.
yeah, no, and
So
he's also on TikTok. He's spectacular. Honestly, when it comes to scriptural discussions, He is a giant. So, but then I also get people who've left the church or maybe have doubts or have questions. And that's the real rewarding part is I get their comments or questions. And I don't get a lot of their questions. Some of them, I do get those questions. I'm working on trying to get that one viral video, the video that goes to 100,000 or even 1 million views. I'd really like to crack that code and get, I think that that would make a big difference in
Yeah.
getting more people asking. And I think I'm almost there, but I'm just tweaking it. But nonetheless, though, I do get some people who are against the church, people who are that have left the church, and then those that are never been in the church, but they're like part of the mainstream Christianity. Um, and it's really interesting having those kind of discussions in the comment section. And that's why I have a lot of comments, is because we're having back and forth discussion on some of the things that they're seeing.
So, and so into to that degree, because we get a few here on Hidden in the Heartland, and
Hmm.
in fact, we had one on our last video, and really good-hearted discussion from both people who obviously don't believe in the Heartland model, who are gung ho, Mesoamerica, or people who, like you said, have left the church or have never been. And I think it's definitely a door opening experience to be able to post something and then to hear and then if there's time, because sometimes there's not time to
Mm.
get on and to actually answer questions or to talk about it or to thank them for even coming, because I think one of the challenges, I know one of my goals for Hidden in the Heartland is to obviously open those doors
Hmm.
because not everything that Rod Meldrum says I totally agree with,
Hmm.
and not everything in Mesoamerica is all
Yeah.
negative.
Yeah, I
And
know. There's some
there has to
fascinating
be a
stuff.
balance to be able to have that door open to be able to discuss. And then there are those who've left the church who have valid things to say
Hmm.
and is proper to discuss. And then there are those who have come back who who've worked hard to come back and have see a whole different world when it comes to coming into the church
I
and
think
leaving and coming back.
I've got to say that that's probably the most rewarding part of it is here because I've gotten some comments where people are like, I guess it's time to go back to church, when they're saying stuff like that. Or they're in shock, or people who've believed one way for a long time, and then when they see the content, e- explain maybe a little bit at the beginning sensationally, but then have actual like artifacts, actual proper science, that's been applied to those artifacts and locations, and then you know, really seeing the fact that there's a lot of it, like the fact that I don't know if anybody saw, but I've probably 90, almost 100 videos now, and I've only been doing this since June. And
Wow. Holy
it's
cow.
so it's pretty fascinating just that alone. I mean, think
Yeah.
about it. At the end of the year, I'll have at least 365 videos, hopefully.
That's
So,
amazing. Holy cow. And the thing is, and you're right, the videos are meant to, it's kind of like dating online,
mhm,
because I know I met my wife online, and so I have experience. And so, but you don't. But I've also had experience on the negative side of dating online,
mhm,
and that is that you don't lean on everything being online. You use it as the door to open, and then from there you go do your own research. And so you
pique the
hope that
interest.
they watch, yeah, they watch a video, a short video, whether it be from one of my videos or whether it be from
Yeah,
Ancient Answers. They watch it, it sparks the interest, and then from there they go and they look for their own study and they go
yeah,
get their own.
find
Oh,
it
I better go
themselves.
find out more. Just because it said it on TikTok, just because they said it on YouTube, just because you read it in Wikipedia doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate, but it means you need to go. It opens a door for you to go. Maybe you better spark it and do your own research. And that's what I encourage people to do, because Wikipedia, I remember one time my son, one of my sons was mad about something
Hmm.
and he says, Dad, you don't, this was probably 10 years ago. And he said, Dad, there's this thing called Wikipedia, and you need to do your research. You need to get onto
Mm,
Wikipedia. And I proceeded to tell him that if you look me up on Wikipedia, because I'm on Wikipedia, but when I used to do Will It Blend for
uh-huh.
Blend Tech, somebody somewhere wrote in Wikipedia that the company I worked for was out of England, which I've never been to England. I didn't know, I'd never heard of this company, but somehow somebody put some totally false information on Wikipedia. And I had to fight to get that changed. I don't even think it's ever got changed, but it proved that just because it was on Wikipedia doesn't necessarily mean you don't go to
Yeah,
Wikipedia and type
it's
in,
not a
is the
good
Book of
source.
Mormon true? Because it's good to get, dates and times from Wikipedia, but beyond that, Wikipedia, anybody can enter anything in, and it can be whatever. Whoever owns the key to get in is going to be the one with the story,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's why it's so important to do your own research. So
yeah. So when I post my videos, I try my best. Sometimes I get out of the habit, but I try my best to post also in the description all of the sources of where
yeah,
the information is being found, especially on the DNA, because there are a lot of articles
yeah,
specifically on DNA or genetics that it'd be hard probably for someone to actually find the info. So since I have access to it, and since I've been making videos, I've actually had to do some network, talking to Michael to meet you, and I've gotten to meet the author of was it the Face of a Nephite? Same thing with David Lindsay, you had on your last. Like
yeah,
I've been at these conferences, networking, finding more people. I know some other folks, the Stick of Joseph. There's also, this is what I wanted to say too, is there's another great YouTuber. Maybe some of your audience has seen him. Michael, he goes by Michael P on YouTube, but he has tons of videos and video views of people that have, on this Book of Mormon, evidence. And he was probably one of the first people I got to get in contact with. And
wow, I've never heard of them. I'll have
yeah,
to look them up.
oh yeah, I'll send you some videos later, but he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, he has one video that's about an hour long on just all of the Hebrew and Native American similarities, from language to clothing to just a ton of stuff that you've addressed a little bit on your videos as well.
Yeah.
So pretty
That's
rad. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. There's a lot of information out there, and I think it's important for us to gather and to be able to make sense of it. And the other thing I always try to encourage, those who study is it's okay if certain things are not totally 100%. It's okay if we're wrong about something, or it's okay if we have to readjust our thinking,
Hmm.
about certain elements of this research. The important thing is that we're constantly pulling the information so that we can share it with others, especially in this world today where evidence is, the greatest evidence obviously is the spirit, but the
Yeah.
evidence to get you to that point, to get on your knees to find out, sometimes it requires a little bit of something in your hands or something that you saw. And
Yeah, the actual
what better,
experience.
yeah, what better way than to spark it with something. But David, this has been really good. I have really enjoyed talking with you about this. And how can people reach you? How can they find out about you?
Yeah. So you could find me as Ancient Answers on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, of course. I am pretty like I'm not I don't have my email or contact info out there, but you can talk to me through the comment section.
Yeah,
And I may have some at some point, I don't have anything like this yet, but I may have a Patreon. And I am planning on designing an application, Heartland type application as well. So,
that'll be great.
so yeah, just like subscribe, follow me on these platforms, and then pay attention to what's happening. And I'm working with some folks in the publishing, and also the Stick of Joseph I've mentioned. They're another YouTube channel, a couple of brothers that are making some really great videos as well. Hopefully, they'll be on your podcast as well.
Yeah,
So,
that would be awesome. Yeah, they've some great material.
Hmm.
And I think the work is continuing. You know what, David? Thank you so much for joining us today here on Hidden in the Heartland. We want to remind you to subscribe to our channel to keep us going. We just passed a whopping 1,000 subscribers, so thank you.
Amazing.
And it's which has been nice for just starting it this year, and so we're very grateful for that. And thank you for keeping the views coming and the discussions going because that's what's important. We want to know who lived here long before Columbus. That's the goal that we have. And thank you for joining us here on Hidden in the Heartland. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you, David, for joining
Yeah,
with
thank
us.
you.